Ex-homeless Redditors. What was the scariest thing that you ever saw on the streets? NSFW. Not that scary. But one time I was on a park bench just killing time. This homeless dude that everyone called Red was at another bench. He came up to mine and asked if I would watch his sleep while he slept for a bit. And I said yes. So he laid down next to me. And after a while he sat up for a cigarette. About 3 drags in, he starts coughing and his face turned all purple fast. Never realized how fast people turn purple from lack of oxygen. He fell over on his side. And I jumped up and gave him a little smack on the back a few times. And I kept yelling at him to get up. I was hesitant to call an ambulance cause of hospital bills that he obviously wouldn't be able to pay. But right as I took my phone out to call, he had been unconscious for like 30 seconds. At this point he starts gasping and gets up. I asked him if he was okay. And all he says is beeping COPD and then takes a drag of the cigarette that he never even dropped the whole time that happened. Blows my mind he didn't drop it, LMAO. Kids beating the speep out of a homeless man. Started with them spitting on him. He gets up and runs after them. Then a couple of them hit him from behind with some IKEA-looking wood, you know, the one that snaps easy. He gets mad and they run off. He comes back to the bench and falls asleep again. 10 minutes later they're back and they just start beating the beeping speep out of him. I had to jump in and stop them. Thank you for helping the homeless person. This thread is filled with comments like this and it's honestly mortifying. A woman giving birth at a bus terminal. Was she okay? An ambulance showed up and helped her out. I didn't hang around, but it looked like they had it under control. The scariest thing I saw was a man named Tony T. Apparently he had been a cokehead for years but had to keep a job to support his habit. He had received a huge settlement. Over $500K. At which point he decided that he never had to work again. He lived on the streets and smoked cocaine all day. The best way to describe him is Tuco from Breaking Bad. He was generous with his drugs so people would naturally want to be around him. But he was unpredictable and dangerous. I have tons of stories about him being crazy aggressive, but the last time I saw him he beat a man with a pipe for dropping a tiny crack rock in the dirt. We are talking like $20 worth of dope, and he probably either killed the guy or beeped him up for life. I tried to stop him and he threatened to turn on me. I walked out. Went to a phone and called my sister to come get me. She helped me get my speep together and I never went back. That was 30 years ago. Cold weather. I thought I was going to die one night. I was so cold. I remember waking up thinking you need to move or you are going to die. This was the scariest thing for me. I ended up sleeping in buses. Burning sterno, it's like jellied rubbing alcohol that burns for a good while. I would try to constantly be walking cause if I stopped I'd probably fall asleep and die. I also sometimes rested under a bridge from time to time. One time I fell asleep under the bridge and I woke up finally feeling warm and cozy and thought it was nice to finally be able to rest. Then I realized that it's way too cold for this and I can't move without that frozen fingers, pain everywhere. Struggled real hard to get my sterno out and could barely bend my fingers enough to light it. Like my hands were nearly useless. I'm really glad I woke up. Edit. Thanks for the gold. Edit 2. All you guys telling me you're glad I woke up got me feeling all warm and fuzzy inside. I haven't felt this happy to be alive for a long time. Thank you. Lots of stabbings and rapes. I was stalked by a gang one night on my way home from work. I still have no idea how I wasn't raped or mugged. Once I woke up suddenly to a not homeless man holding a huge knife staring at me inside the abandoned building's basement I was sleeping in. Once he noticed I was awake, he asked if I was Russian. I said no, and he said he was looking for a different girl. Gave me $20 and left. Edit. If you can read this and immediately think yes, it's the best idea to send this woman disgustingly perverse messages and ask for nudes. I hope your dick stay flaccid for eternity. Not what I saw. What I heard. If that counts. For a while I slept in an empty warehouse. I'm in the UK. So it was a huge Victorian building with about 6 floors. I slept on the 3rd or 4th floor. Out of the way of casual intruders, drunks and prostitutes used that space, and one night I heard a load of shouting and a female screaming from the ground floor. Now I was 16. A junkie and about 120 pounds. So I wasn't in any position to do much. But I crept down the steps to see what was happening. By the time I got there, the place was empty and the noise had stopped, so I went back upstairs. I found out the next day they found a body in the wasteland outside. Turns out the woman was a prostitute. They assumed her client stabbed her after a struggle and she'd made a run for it before he caught her and finished the job. Always wonder if I'd been able to help. But I'd have probably got stabbed too. My brother was homeless. He was hit by a car and died on the sidewalk. I was there 5 minutes before and 5 minutes after it happened. Had to identify his body for the cops and ambulance. I'm still peeped up about it. Was homeless for a summer and an acquaintance through the party scene of the town invited me to crash on her couch. Woke up in the middle of the night to her screaming into her phone about how they are out to get her and are setting the world up for destruction. Pretended like I was still asleep and got out of there the next day real quick. I saw a really angry bald man aggressively masturbating his flaccid dick. TBH, that was probably the most scary thing. I wonder if he was angry because it was flaccid. People who had been homeless way longer than me. Trust me. There is nothing scarier on the streets than the meth couple who this has been their day in and day out for 1000s of days. People joke about meth. But unless you've been around chronic users, you don't understand how truly scary it makes people become. Like a whole new level of animalistic. Impulsive. Not right in the head people. I f***ing hate meth. Snow. I'm a big, scary dude, so I never had trouble with people picking on me or whatever. In that sense the streets were safe to me. But seeing snow for the first time that year just made me cry and panic. It was too early for snow. I wasn't ready for that type of cold and was hoping to be on my feet again before the winter came. Beautiful thing like snow just beeped me up in so many ways. Hope things are looking better for you now. I was just sleeping around where other guys in my city sleep. Then just see some teens stabbing one of the homeless guys multiple times. Ran away from there. Never turned back. Man, there are some beeped up people out there. I hope somehow that guy survived. Biggest thing 5 feet 3 inches 115 pounds was how often people try to abduct you. That and how often people try to serve you tampered food. The teenagers trying to get clout by assaulting/pranking you is another one. Everyone is gonna try to steal from your ass, so watch your speep. Keep your mouth shut and find a good place that is desolate from nocturnal animals and assholes. Don't try to make friends, they will turn on you in a heartbeat. I had been homeless for a couple weeks now and had made friends with this couple. They seemed pretty chill but had a bit of a drinking problem. Anyway, one night I was sleeping. Could hear some commotion going on. Couldn't make out who it was or what was going on. Until my buddy comes and sits on my sleeping bag. Blood pumping out of his neck. Like full on, every time his heart beat it would splurt out. Not under huge pressure, but it was pretty bad. I asked him what happened and he said he think his missus had cut his throat with a Stanley blade. He was so drunk he was not aware of how bad his injury was. And insisted I did not call an ambulance. So I called the police, they called the ambulance. I see the dude a couple days later. Still homeless. Scar on his neck. He's ever so grateful the nurse had told him how lucky he was. He was literally a couple millimeters away from dying that night. Edit. I'm no longer homeless. This all happened about 6 years ago now. I no longer speak to him. This is another long story. She was arrested but not charged. Last year she committed suicide, so she's no longer